I just get nervous.
You have it, that's all. No, it's here. Can I have it? You're there for. Yeah. I'm very anxious.
I wasn't very well educated in any of that, but.
No, this is did you wanna?
I can put one on our,
Back then. Right now.
we gotta go online.
Yeah, well, then
This is getting started up now.
Oh, okay.
Okay, it's 8:30 according to these clocks, so I'll call the order. First of all, we welcome our new member, Randy Lovely. Do you know everybody? No?
No.
Okay, well, let's just go around.
I'm Dawn, I'm the shelter manager in West County.
I'm Terry Work, I'm the chairman of this committee.
Tom Anderson, County Board.
And you met Tom Burrow, you know Nancy. Why don't you introduce yourself or what you're doing or what you've done, and who you are?
Well, I'm Randy Lovely, and I've lived in the area almost all my life, wasn't born here, but I guess now following in my father's footsteps of city council representative, although I waited a lot longer than him. I do IT work out of Rockwell Automation full time. I've had businesses in the area since the 1990s. Worked at Radio Shack and Frank Beer at it, and then went out on my own after that.
Is Tom Lovely your uncle?
Yeah. Cousin, I'm sorry.
Oh, cousin.
Well, okay, Tom Lovely that was at Social Services is my cousin. His father, Tom Lovely, is my uncle.
That's right.
Thomas Richard, Rick.
Okay,
was-
Rick.
yeah.
Well, we have Tom and Tom, so we have Tom on here. And you have- Okay, if you look at the minutes, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of April 18th.
Okay, motion made and seconded to approve the minutes of April 18th. Any further discussion or additions, corrections? Okay, not all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carried. Okay, public comment. We're changing a few things around. It's limited to 3 minutes per person with a maximum public comment of 30 minutes and only on agenda items. So is there any public comment by the public?
Sure. I'm here to speak on both the agenda items. The ADA.
Oh, you'll have to come up here.
Sure.
Because people can't hear you.
Yeah, I'm shy by nature, despite the fancy story. I'm here to speak on the ADA compliance. So there's a few issues. The building will be 6 years old this June, and as it's sitting, it's in an illegal form. It's supposed to be ADA compliant. That was something that was adopted back in the 90s. How it was overlooked, I'm not sure. The things I've noticed, your handicap spot needs to be blacktopped for the vans to lower the wheelchair ramps. Also, your entryway doesn't have any sloping for a wheelchair, so I don't know how you expect someone in a scooter or with a mobility issue to enter the building without assistance when it should be made for them to be able to independently, as long as they're mentally capable, to get in there without assistance. It's lacking the handicap accessible push buttons, and I think people with disabilities are a very overlooked population, and they should be included, and the building should be updated for those to bring it up to code, and it's just the right thing to do from a societal standpoint. And as far as that issue goes, I think I'm done with that. The city citations for cat licensing, I believe the number I quoted was the city is paying you guys good measure rounding purposes, $60,000. And to me, that's not, I mean, it's legitimately not being done. I mean, it's, the paper trails are there that it's not being done. And to me, that's like someone paying a babysitter who's not babysitting, like who's in the right mind, going to pay you when you're not showing up and doing what you're supposed to. And I have the job description. Under the direction of the Joint Animal Control Board, the Animal Shelter Manager Community Officer position will be responsible for state and local law, ordinances, licensing, and then the list just goes on. But we're here to talk about the licensing and citations part, and that is not being done. I don't think that's fair to the city, who is paying you extra on top of the 20% taxes that already get paid to the county. I mean, it's wrong, it needs to be done. I mean, what do you think they're gonna say this fall when you approach them about that full-time job? And they're wondering why you don't have time to do the cat citations and licensing, but you have time to run to Neelsville? It's gonna raise some questions. Just an assumption, again, I'm here, not as an employee of the county or city, as a concerned taxpaying citizen. Thank you.
Okay, any further public comment, anybody?
I'm Kelly Grotzinger. I am here on behalf of the Ladysmith Adult Day Service. We do have employees, or we have clients that work with different organizations. Like we just had a client that they brought out to the animal shelter and let him, I don't want to call it an internship, but gave him the opportunity to see what the job was and let him work for, I think it was 6 weeks, an opportunity that he physically, mentally wouldn't have been able to do unless he had this work program. So it's supporting the ADA, and that's all.
Okay, thank you. Any further public comment?
Yes, of course. I watched the, in regards to the anonymous complaint, which we now know who the complainer is, thank you. The Joint Management Committee, meeting from, let's see, it was April 25th, thank you. And, their consensus, basically, what I gathered, was to refer this matter directly to the animal shelter, and that complaints to the county should be referred to the specific committee. That is what the committees are here for, not to the other ones. And actually, Al Christensen Sr. suggested that there should be some thought in the future given to the public buildings that requires them to go through 3 different committees to get something done. He has heard from numerous people that this creates confusion, often anger, and inefficiency. Connie Meyer said that an ordinance would have to be changed concerning that if they wanted to change the policy of how many committees we need to go through. So it's something that would have to, work would have to be done on it. Marty Reynolds asked Ashley, who made the complaint, and she said it was anonymous, and he kind of replied, well, if it's anonymous, is it really a complaint? And why should we have to deal with it? So I agree that if someone is concerned about an issue or a need, especially if they are threatening to notify the state within 60 days, then they should be willing to put their name on what they are committed to accomplishing. The Joint Management Committee and Ashley and Janie basically agreed that reasonable accommodations could solve the issue for now, such as having a buzzer by the entrance door to alert an employee to help a person in a wheelchair or person with a disability to get inside, or having a sign on the door with the phone number to call an employee that could come out to help a person get in. And in general, I feel that citizen complaints brought to this committee should have names attached to them and the dates received. I also believe that individual members of this committee with a concern or complaint should first bring it to the committee members and shelter manager to discuss it and try to resolve the issue. before acting arbitrarily on their own or asking endless open record requests or complaining on Facebook. Maybe the complainer should be assigned some volunteer and learning hours at the shelter to better understand how and why things are done.
Hey Joanne, I'm gonna cut you off, 3 minutes are up. Sorry. We're running right now. Any other public comment? Okay.
Okay, well, hopefully I'll end with a little happier note. We have two huge possibilities, opportunities here. And one, the ADA complaint, I totally agree that that work should be done. And it was in the plans for the new building. And so if we could do, you know, the basic things that you have to do, the little cost-effective things, that was. But the bottom line is, just what, 6 years ago, the state approved that plan. So if push came to shove, you guys are kind of grandfathered in because, you know, it's not like a building that was built before these laws were in place. This was a building after the laws were in place and the state approved it. So you're kind of covered a little bit. And it will be one more argument, you know, if we're going with the whole door and the expensive thing, to get a new CAT building. So that's one good opportunity we could have. The second good opportunity that we have is, I don't know if the shelter committed to do the CAT licenses. I don't know the background of that or whatever, but this could be a good argument why we need that full-time person. Because to meet the obligations that apparently the city and county did agree on. And so you have another opportunity to say, well, you know, come on out and see if we have time to even issue one license. And secondly, it would really help if we had a full-time employee. So that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Any further public comment? Mary?
In 2018, when the shelter was completed, ADA law had been enacted in 1990. So that was well over 2 decades after that law was enacted. And just ADA compliant stuff at the shelter. When my son David, who happens to be hearing impaired, applied for his job there at the shelter, he requested an ASL interpreter. For his interview, he did not get one. When the phones became an issue and it was known that he would not be able to answer the phones, there were accommodations that should have been provided. They were not provided. ADA law was enacted in 1990. My son wasn't even born until 2001. Those are serious ADA compliance issues. The doors were put in so that the buzzer can be put in. And literally the outside door opens outward and the inside door opens inward. It's a matter of literally putting the button in there to make it compliant. And while I totally love these ladies here and I totally respect them and respect what they're trying to do, I guess I do have a question about what is going on with the new building. If what has been going on at the shelter is true and animals are being spayed and neutered before they leave the shelter and our numbers are going down because the numbers have been going down, why do we need more space, guys? It doesn't make sense. If the numbers are going down, there isn't a need for more space. Dawn said she was working with some agencies that were doing some like trap and release things. If that is going on, the numbers are going to keep going down. So why would we need more space? Not only that, and I know these ladies are really great at donating stuff. Paula has done amazing work. Joanne has done amazing stuff, and I don't want to discount any of that. However, numbers speak loud, and those numbers have been going down. My son also asked me to mention that in the 2015-16 school year, when he was a super senior, whatever you call it, he was in special ed, So he had an IEP and he stayed longer at school. Being a volunteer at the animal shelter was part of his IEP. It was done before Dawn came, before Karen came, when Carolyn was there, and they were still in the old building. When Dawn came, we spoke to her about him coming back, about my daughter, who is also a disabled adult, coming back. There has been no response. Both of them are disabled. Seems like a problem with ADA laws being followed.
Okay, your time is up, sorry. Any further public comment? Anyone? You've already.
Are you only allowed one stand up, or just 3 minutes total?
3 minutes.
So did everybody?
Everybody's done their 3 minutes.
What if you didn't use your full 3 minutes?
No, you have one shot. We're
Sure.
not going to time it down to the nanoseconds.
No worries, thank you.
Any further public comment from anybody? Okay, we will close public comment. At this time, well, it is 8:45. We were supposed to have a public hearing to review a vicious dog determination and to discuss whether we could take off the vicious on the dog. That has been canceled. However, Chief Julian is here and Dawn, and I think to give us a little background on what is a vicious dog, the background of that, and how this label came about and how this incident arrived. So Chief Julian.
Okay, yeah, I think everybody knows me here, but if not, Kevin Julian, Ladysmith Police Department. Around April 15th, I'll try to be brief, but around April 15th, we had information from the Appleton Police Department that a dog from their jurisdiction had moved into the city of Ladysmith. It was a rescue dog. The people from Ladysmith brought it in as a rescue dog. Appleton Police Department had ruled that dog as vicious under their ordinance because it had 2 unprovoked attacks. I believe they're both children, but don't quote me on that. I know one of the instances for sure was. So after I got the information, I contacted the owner of the dog here in the city of Ladysmith, and I advised her that I would be deeming her dog as vicious due to the reports that I'd gotten from the Appleton Police Department. So on the 23rd of April, I did send, in and around the 23rd of April, I did send the Kramers a letter advising that I was deeming their dog as vicious. I felt fairly good about the situation as a whole because they were taking steps upon themselves. You know, as somebody bringing in a rescue dog, they were trying to get the dog to take a muzzle. You know, we had talked about signage. According to our ordinance, you have to have a sign that says vicious animal on property or something to that effect. I felt pretty good about it. But like I told them, I said I have no other choice but to deem it as vicious, and they're going to have to abide by the ordinances. They wish to appeal the decision that I made. I think they wanted to maybe discuss it with you folks. But now have since changed their mind due to another unprovoked bite by that animal, which occurred 2 days ago. So now they are going to euthanize that animal. I just got off the phone with her. She confirmed that the dog did in fact bite a child in their home. The only issue that we're having, and Dawn and I are going to have to maybe sort this out a little bit, is I don't think it was appropriately reported because the Ross County Sheriff's Department never got a complaint about it, and the Barron County Sheriff's Department never got a complaint about it. The child was brought to Barron Hospital, Mayo, and as far as I know, it hasn't been reported to anybody that I know of. So we have to, Dawn and I are going to have to work on that issue, but she did tell me that she is going to do the 10-day quarantine, and that it'll be euthanized on the 28th. So that's why she's waiting. I asked Dawn yesterday why she's waiting until the 28th to euthanize, and that's the reason that she gave me. So this is how this one kind of came to light. Is there any questions as far as like, I mean, I've only done probably a handful of these, and I think each of them have been appropriate. One was brought to the board's attention or committee's attention a couple of years ago. Two of them, okay. And one, you guys, one at least, you went against my decision, which this is the committee that
Right.
is for that, so.
The other one had been told they had to have the signs, have dog tied up,
Okay.
and 2 days later, I'm walking down the street and guess who comes running out to me?
Yeah.
So you can, oh,
So I mean, I like this ordinance, I like the way it's set up, you know, myself or any law enforcement officer or Dawn, can deem a dog as vicious per the city ordinance. I like it, and then there's that, you know, buffer then, if the person disagrees with me or Dawn or whoever it is, they can come to you folks and you guys can make a decision off the evidence that's brought forward, so I like the way it's set up.
no, Dawn, are you gonna be the one to put it down there, or is it gonna have to go to the vet?
Going to that, it's rabies vaccinated, all I gotta do is make sure she does the quarantine and gets the vet visits,
So it's quarantined out at the shelter, or is it quarantined at their house?
quarantine's at home.
And you'll follow up to make sure they do have it put down?
I think the reason the dog was in Appleton originally, and the owner didn't spend much time with it or really train or anything, so it had bitten 2 kids, I believe, and therefore Appleton deemed it vicious and they were going to euthanize it there, and this person said, oh no, and got the dog and brought it here, and then she wanted that label removed, and they were going through, she had videos of how they were training it and socializing it more and everything, but it was an Australian something or other, and it was just something in it that when it saw little kids on bicycles, it just triggered it. So I had we had set this meeting up and everything, and then she had sent me a note asking how to get here and, you know, this and that, and then I just responded, and half an hour later at night she responded and said, no, cancel it and everything, and then like Chief said, it had been somebody else, so now it has to be euthanized. Three bites in here are gone. There's just nothing you can do about it. But this is something that we don't have here very often or anything, so I thought it was important that Chief Julian talk about it from his standpoint, and then Dawn, do you have anything to add to that?
No, Lindsay had stopped in at the shelter and I talked to her for a while, about the dog, and she had stated she couldn't see any aggression with the dog, and I had asked her, because when I read the report was that it was kids with bicycles or kids playing or whatever was going on, but that was one thing she hadn't, like tested the dog on or tried to figure out, because I told her, I said, the dog has a trigger, and that trigger is children, whether they're riding bikes or playing or whatever they're doing. I said, so you need to try to, you know, put a muzzle on the dog and, you know, maybe walk it down the sidewalk and have you or somebody else, you know, ride a bike or whatever and just see what the dog does. And she said that most of that went fine, but I think what happened is, what she said was, because she had videos of all that, and the dog was okay, but then, and at the time, I didn't know the dog bit anybody, because it wasn't reported. And she did not mention it to me, but, she had said, I don't know if it happened in the house, I don't really know how it happened, I will find out, but all of a sudden the dog just gave no warning. It didn't show any stress, it didn't show any aggression, it didn't show anything, it just, like that. And she just said, I can't have a dog like that, so.
What was the breed again?
Australian Shepherd. And the dog's not that old, so something went awry somewhere in the dog's developmental stage, and it's not gonna be corrected probably.
Well, the previous owner wasn't there most of the time with it, from what she was telling me, and it really wasn't trained or socialized well, and so you can't really, yeah, 'cause it's just a little.
But there's a lot of dogs that are not trained, that don't bite.
Right.
I mean, they might, you know, jump all over you and grab
But
and
some
but this
need
dog is
more.
actually like, all of a sudden, just bam.
And this is
So-
kind of a herding dog
Yeah.
too and everything, so when it sees kids on bike, oh no, I gotta go take care of it.
Something caused that.
Yeah.
Well, if something happened to that dog in developmental stage, and that's between, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, there's all these things animals go through in their little brains. So something in that developmental stage happened to that dog, or was trained into that dog, and it's very hard to remove that. It doesn't come out, it's very hard to fix.
And
So,
she was following all the orders,
Yeah.
and she talked to you about it and everything, so when she took the dog outside of the fence and everything, it was muzzled and, all of that stuff, so we were hoping that, and like I say, she had videos showing it within this last trigger,
Was her child got bit?
I have no idea who got bit, I don't have any information.
My information is that the bite happened in her home
Yeah.
with a child that, comes to her home, maybe babysits every now and then, kind of thing, like friend, and.
Okay, any
Oh,
other questions for?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Okay, so did another sheriff's department, like from another county, call you, and is this a common practice that when vicious dogs move into an area that municipalities tell each other? I mean, I think
Should
that's
be.
kinda awesome
So this
that
is the-
happened.
I agree with you. This is the first time since I've been chief that I've had another jurisdiction contact me to tell me a dog was moving into our community and the address and who it moved in with.
That's-
So it kind of worked out very well here, yeah.
Yeah, wow, that's pretty cool.
I've never had it happen before. So hopefully it does happen again if if that's the
Right.
case, so.
Kind of like the sex offender stuff.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought, yeah.
Okay, any further questions or discussion about this? It's something like, say, we haven't had before, and so I thought Chief Julian, well, I mean, like, say, we were gonna have a different type of hearing, but we're not having a public hearing now, because like, say, it's off the agenda. Any further questions? Okay, let's move on then. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
ADA compliance referred by joint management. I think, that was talked about in, public comment. Again, in your packet, there is a anonymous complaint about ADA. I think we can discuss that. I believe because the building was, like I say, that was, ADA compliant, they approved the plans, the state did, and all of that. I think we can, when we had the, basically if you have it, whatever, and build a building and everything, and then they change the law or anything like that, generally you're grandfathered in. And so, I'm assuming that this was grandfathered in because it was in compliance when they built the building. If you change the building, you modify it, you alter it, or anything,
But things were changed on ours.
no, the building is still the same, nothing's been done. We have not added a
No,
cat
we
room.
haven't, but when it was being built, it wasn't followed.
Well, the engineering firm has the approval.
Well, at UCC Church, when they were redoing that, the plans that were drawn up for that campus, 2 or 3 plans, didn't include an, elevator. And they
Well,
weren't, but they weren't using the old structure, the original structure, so they had to have an elevator in there, according to ADA law.
Well, but that's making an alteration or a change to the building.
Right, but we got that listing of stuff from, I think it was Wold, they had a list of things we needed, and it had the handicap entrance, it had the parking.
That was just something that should be addressed down in the future.
Right, but how far down the road is the building gonna be put on, the addition? That was one
We
of the
don't
number one
know.
things, right, Terry, that was one of the number one things that should have been addressed.
No, well, it was addressed in what we did for the, animal shelter for the cat room. We're talking about a cat room addition, I don't know if you're aware of that. We've got a proposal to add a 20 by 40 foot room, well, for cats, adding onto the building to the west. And, that plans included, ADA compliant thing and a different entrance, and they changed all of that plan. But the current building, as far as I I know, it is in compliance because it was grandfathered in. We have not made any changes or additions to the building. So therefore, we do not have to do anything. However, we can accommodate stuff, with, putting on stuff on like Facebook or your websites, that if you're handicapped or disabled and need access, that we will come out and help you. Also, we can put up a sign. I think there's other ways to do the accommodation, and like a buzzer, some you said there is.
There is a buzzer out there. The door does, if you open it, the door does ding. So we usually know.
Right, for somebody.
But normally if somebody has issues, they either will call.
Right, or
And I
make an
haven't had
appointment.
anybody in a wheelchair or anything like come in since I've been there, but obviously if someone does, they're gonna have a heck of a time getting in there, but normally if I need to help somebody, they will call from their car or they'll let us know.
Right.
Or they'll call before and say, hey,
Make an appointment.
yeah, they'll call and they'll say, can you meet me at whatever time it is, or can someone come out and help me? I just don't, why wasn't this brought up a long time ago?
But this was
That
2 years ago, it
building's-
was discussed.
This building's
At least 2
been
years ago.
there for a long time.
I guess if I can say something,
Yes.
my only opinion is accommodations are one thing, but the whole idea, I think, of the ADA that was passed 20 years or 40 years ago, whenever it was that people shouldn't have to be treated different.
Right.
They should be able to get around like everybody else. So.
Not everybody carries a cell phone with them.
But the state approved it, so.
I'd like to look at it.
I was gonna say, that's the thing that is curious,
Yeah.
because nothing's really changed in the last 10 years.
Right.
Then they should have approved it,
Right.
so that's not really on,
That doesn't automatically take out the hook, though.
no, it doesn't, but they should
Yeah,
have,
but
they should have
they
approved it.
approved it, and you got a lot of that. If they changed the law, well, they haven't changed the law, but
Right.
they approved it, so we're in effect grandfathered in.
No,
No,
you get a legal opinion on that. but I
Well,
don't
yeah,
think
you'd have to get a legal
Yeah.
opinion, but I think, again, this is referred by joint management, so I think that if we, make reasonable accommodations, it would solve the problem now. Because I think we looked at changing the entrance way there and everything, and what was that? $8,000 or something just for that, and, that's, our budget won't handle that.
But the doorbell wouldn't cost that much,
Well,
the
I-
buzzer entrance thing.
There is a buzzer out there.
No, I mean,
Is
so
it
you
a
push the
different
buzzer,
kind of
so you can push the buzzer and the door will open for them.
Well, I think that was the $8,000, because you've gotta change how it comes, cause you come in and it's coming that way right away.
That was just moving the whole doorway now, and twisting things around and adding the outside entrance cover, whatever you wanna call it. Maybe that's something we should look back into, and see what actually the handicap entrance,
We
what
can-
part of it was.
We can have that checked again, to see what a cost would be to modify it.
To modify the present one, or the existing one, or the.
Well, the present one is the existing one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had enough coffee yet today, a cup only.
The committee's consensus or recommendation, is that what you want me to put in the minutes?
So what is, committee's consensus?
We should look into it.
To look and see what the cost would be.
I know we just put a new entrance out at the senior center, handicap thing, I didn't know it was paid by, I don't remember who it was paid by.
ARPA funds from HHS.
Yeah.
Oh, but then,
Yeah, maybe we
We
can
don't
look
have
into that.
But that was just drilling the holes through the wall, basically, and doing the wiring. It wasn't taking out a whole wall or a whole piece of a wall, it was just
Well, put in new doors,
opening doors, okay.
2 doors.
Motorized.
Yeah.
30,000.
Because from what I talked, the building inspector would just be a matter of drilling the holes in, running the wiring through, and making the doors we've got existing.
Well, it's not cheap either, but.
Well, it's not gonna be $8 grand,
Okay.
so.
You know, if you're so concerned about this, why don't you have Drew do some research on yourself and bring back to the committee? of
I
compliance if you have-
discussed with the committee when we first got the paperwork, and Terry
I don't
gave it to
remember
us.
that,
Well, it's not my fault.
so it apparently needs to be done again. Maybe you got your paperwork still from the last time.
What paper are you referring to?
I have no idea.
Obviously.
So that's what I mean, bring something up to the committee so that we can look at it and decide.
We can check in to see,
Yeah, make it sense to them.
we
We brought it
can-
now. What do you want? You want numbers for how much it's gonna cost to do it, or what?
Yeah, do some research on it. You're so concerned about it.
I was the one that brought the issue up. This time.
Oh, well, then have whoever brought it up, have them bring up something.
She shouldn't
Some
have.
kind of a plan.
okay, I think we can look into it, we can check with Gary and see what he has, what his recommendation would be. But I think, again, if we make reasonable accommodations, and tell, or if and when we do an addition, but again, if there's any modification or additions, remodeling, anything like that, then we have to do the whole thing. But it seems to me like we had a figure of $8,000 to change that, from before. Okay, any further discussion?
Well, I'm just kidding, so, in other words, apparently what needs to happen here is that they want a door that opens electrically, right? So they push
Yeah,
it up,
but
the
like
door opens.
most candy, yeah, I mean,
you push the button.
there's a lot of places that don't have them, but you just push that little button, sometimes it's lower. I think some of the ones I've seen are like on
Like you see in
a
the
pole.
hospital or-
yeah, and they can just hit it and then the door will swing open.
Yep.
Whether the door swings open or not, the only other difficulty I see is that whole entire driveway is gravel. Which I don't know why, I think it was supposed to be asphalt, I don't know, I wasn't
Well,
here when all this went down, I wasn't here when the building was built, so I don't know, but there is gravel, so it would be, if somebody parked, there's only one handicap parking spot there. I believe they'd have a hell of a time if they had a wheelchair, getting their wheelchair to go across all that gravel, and then onto that, whether there's a button or not.
So, but apparently that has state approval
I
as
guess.
well.
I don't know.
Otherwise there would have been blacktop there, right?
I wasn't here.
Well, but,
yeah.
So I'm
again,
just saying, if you put a button, it may or may not, I mean, for someone who has a walker, it would be, okay if they need the door opened or a cane, but somebody in a wheelchair
but
is
again,
probably
they
not gonna
can
get.
ask for help.
They can, but
So you
it
got
would
like
be
an
hard.
ATV wheelchair.
Yeah.
Okay,
It would
I
be
know
hard.
you guys don't like comments from the public, but there is a ramp over by, outside of that door, that is the cat quarantine room. There is a ramp that goes up into that room. In past, when there were people that came with wheelchairs, they would go up that ramp, park on that side of the building, go up the ramp, and come to the door and ring the doorbell. Sometimes we couldn't get them through those doors, and we would take them through the cat quarantine room, which is not the best ideal in the world, but it got them in there. You guys are like, I just want you to know there is ways of getting people in there. It's just not super convenient, and it doesn't promote independence.
I don't know what you wanna do, but it should have been done when the original plans,
I agree.
whoever built the building should have done it correctly. And
Should
the
never
state
have
approved
passed.
it, why did they approve it if it is a law? So now the animal shelter obviously is getting the blame for it when, and I'm getting the blame for it too, cause my name is on the complaint, the manager knew. I wasn't involved in that building. I agree it should be fixed, cause it isn't fair, to say that, we're being, it sounds like it's saying we're being discriminatory on purpose. I did not build the building, like I said. I am not the state, I did not approve it. It should definitely be fixed, but if it can be fixed, when we add the addition, that would be helpful, because there would be less money being spent, because that whole entire door that's there is gonna be removed. So either you take the 8, 10, 12, who knows how much money to fix it, and then a year down the road or whenever we get the money for the addition, that's all gonna be abolished. So it should have been done right in the first place, and I I guess I don't appreciate, I feel like for some reason, this should have been brought up a long time ago, years ago. It's been 5-6 years, but I wasn't here. And now all of a sudden it's being brought up, my name is being mentioned, and it is not my fault. It should definitely be fixed. I don't know how we're fixing it, when we're fixing it.
When we got the Cole County got assessed, or whatever you call it, for the buildings. It was on there then, that was, I think, 22?
It was brought up well before Dawn was here. It was brought up well before Dawn was
Right.
here.
And
It was brought up
I
and
don't
they
want to
talked
get blamed
about,
for it like I'm
no, it
discriminatory.
is absolutely not you,
Absolutely not.
absolutely not you, and I will stand and say that. But it was brought up, they did talk about blacktopping at one point.
The cost was quite high.
And the
Yeah.
shelter doesn't have the budget to blacktop and to
Right.
do the door, because we don't get any extra excess, I think, why is the shelter being blamed for what was built? Like, why does the shelter have to take this cost when it's gonna burden us? You know, we have a budget, I don't have, and I know people keep saying, I don't need a full-time employee, that's crap. I don't need a, addition, I've got cats in a garage. There's no maternity ward for those cats or dogs. There's no sick room for those cats or dogs. There's no quarantine for bites for cats or dogs, they can't stay in the impound. So that garage where the cats are living, that's supposed to be a garage, is a cesspool of disease and stress. So y'all can sit and tell me what I don't need, you don't work there. You don't deal with it,
I think we're getting
And I-
a lot.
Yeah.
we are, but I'm just, it was brought up.
Yep.
It was brought up,
It was brought up,
so I am addressing it. So
I think it's only fair, Dawn.
this wheelchair thing absolutely needs to be fixed. But to say that I don't need other things in correspondence with that is completely 100% incorrect.
Okay,
So it does need to be fixed.
so what is the consensus of the committee, that we look into see what the cost of modifying the current doors are and come back and discuss it at another meeting?
I'll make a motion for that.
Okay, motion's being seconded to look into the cost of modifying the,
Who's gonna look into this?
I can check with Gary to see what he's got and he can check into other things too.
Eric, when he's maintenance, he might be able to, I mean, at least he's gonna understand more than I would, or maybe how that
I can check with Kurt, the building inspector.
Okay, so the motion is made, seconded, any further discussion about, trying to get some cost ideas on modifying the doors, or, you know, with a buzzer or something else, or looking at other ways of accommodating people, like they can come in a different way, is that?
I don't think, I know Mary said that they used to come into the garage, but there is a freezer right there, and there are cat kennels there, and I have to basically, I can barely fit through that little spot to do that, so I don't know if it was like that before, but there is no way a wheelchair is gonna go, they can get through the garage, but they're not gonna get into the building, because there is a freezer, and then there's a cat in that garage.
Can they come in through where they put when they bring the stray dogs in, can they come in that way?
Well, that's the impound, no,
The
they won't
impound.
get through that. They can get in there, but it would be really difficult, and if there's dogs in there, they're gonna be, it's just not, I mean, the other way they could, but there's also a little bit there too, that they have to go in through quarantine. And
Yeah,
it's
we
just
don't
not
want that.
ideal, because if you've got animals that are sick or diseased, or we have you know, who knows, and then you got a, you know, wheelchairs tracking, it's just not ideal. This order just needs to be
Okay,
fixed.
so the motion made and seconded to look into this, all those, which is the recommendation, and bring back later. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carried. Second item on here is issuance of cat licenses by the animal shelter. There's been correspondence between Dawn and Tony Devine, who is the city controller treasurer, and about doing that. And cat licenses are only a city function, they are not a county requirement. I believe, I guess I'll throw it open for discussion. but was talking with, Tony and everything,
I
they,
didn't read the email that,
yeah,
you got it, okay.
yeah, got you.
We copy that.
He is not,
If you want it, I just brought the line.
he is, he agrees that the cat licensing should only be done by the city and not the county, because it's only a city ordinance. Nothing would be gained by doing it, it's going to increase costs, it's not going to bring in any additional funds. There'd be 2 different databases that would have to be, which would cost more. There's no benefit to it. He agrees that, the money is insignificant, and he would recommend that it stay the way it is now. And in the city ordinance, it states that the city treasurer shall issue the cat license. So that would mean if that changed, city ordinance would have to be changed. We would also have to change the duties of the animal shelter, and change the job description, to add on for that.
As far as what?
Well, because right now that is not part of, issuing a cat license is not part of the description. It just says licenses,
Right.
which is.
License, well, licenses are licensing.
License, I think it says licenses, but that is for dog, because that's a county ordinance, not cat.
Does it specify issuing licenses per county ordinance, or?
No, the city ordinance says, upon claimant, the city treasurer shall complete and issue to the owner a license for each cat or
Yeah,
dog.
I'm talking about, we were talking about the duties. You were saying that the duties of the person at the shelter would have to be written.
Right.
It doesn't specify that.
It doesn't do, it just says, it says licensing, I believe. But again, that is not one of the things that's been done. No other entity in the.
But they had in the past, back when Carolyn Marks was doing the shelter, she was doing licensing at the shelter.
Cat licenses?
Yes. I got a message from her, I don't have my tablet or.
Well, that was in times of change. What
And it was not explained, so this is the thing. You cannot expect me to do things that I'm not aware that I'm supposed to be doing. There was, when I got into that shelter, there was nothing telling me what to do and what not to do. So it's kinda hard for me to be selling things when I don't even know. Now, when I got there, nobody was selling dog licenses, period. They are now, so I wanna know, why is all this stuff coming up? Because I'm here now. Karen was not selling dog licenses or cat licenses,
I'm from the ADA.
period.
I wanna know why I'm being looked at, cause I'm here for just
I
ADA
didn't look at,
compliance.
I didn't look at you,
Well,
I just
it
looked
keeps
over.
getting looked over here,
It's
and
not-
I'm here for ADA compliance.
I don't even know
I
who you are.
didn't know about a complaint, I didn't know, I was just in
Well, she
support
did
of that.
Ask Mary, she
I
worked
think
there.
the
Oh,
animal shelter
I
is
was there,
doing a
yes, she
great
did.
job.
Well,
Yes,
I
she
was
did.
told
Oh,
those
okay.
licenses weren't,
Okay,
there wasn't even any in the building.
Yes, they were. They were in a clear. They were in a clear sterilite bin underneath the desk. Yes,
They
they
weren't there
were.
when I got there.
Okay, point of order, point of order. We are discussing the current thing, with, Tony Devine, the city controller and everything said he does not think it's a good idea to have the county animal shelter sell cat licenses when it's only for the city, on that. Do you have an opinion on that?
How many licenses do the, and maybe this isn't the question, we've talked about this, cat licensing a little bit. I maybe I'd ask the city, but do people license cats?
Yeah, there's a few. So basically what I did is I talked to Tony and I took all of the animals that were adopted from the animal shelter, I think I did 2023 or something like that, that lived in the city of Ladysmith. I took any cats that were impounded that were owned in the city of Ladysmith. I made him a Excel spreadsheet where they lived, if the animals stayed or neutered. If I didn't know, I put a question mark, and then I basically averaged how much money, I sent all of that to him, and I was like, hey, is this gonna make up for, like, is this enough money to warrant them being sold at the shelter? Because if they are, then Tony has to have the shelter management system, because I would have to be able to keep track. I don't know who has a cat license. They're not in my system. The city of Ladysmith does not have my system. So they don't know if, they wouldn't know if I sold one or not, so it has to be put together. So when I did that, he just said it's probably gonna end up breaking even because he'll have to be trained, whatever, and that's, you know, what he said. And then the other thing he said was, until it goes through the animal board and council, you can't do anything, and it probably would have to pass the county board as well, because I think it would require adjusting the city-county agreement. Maybe make it clear that you can't unilaterally decide to sell cat licenses. So Tony's feeling is that this is not my decision. So
Right,
so I don't know why, you know what I mean? It's like, if it's not my decision, then why are there emails being sent to people stating I'm not doing my job, and open records asking for adoptions and reclaims, and then they take that and they cross-reference it with the city, and then they say, well, they're not licensed, but they left the shelter, she's not doing her job. Well, according to Tony, this is not my decision. So if they were being sold before, apparently nobody knows that because it's not
Tony's
required.
relatively new there.
Didn't do cat
license.
Yeah, and I guess, you know, my only opinion, and maybe I don't wanna get off topic here, but, you know, I've been a cop in this community for 19 years, and dog licenses, they make a hell of a lot of sense to me, because dogs run at large, dogs bite the male person, dogs will chase the cars down the street. You know, we have a lot of issues with dogs at large and dogs barking, and we just don't get any cat complaints, so that's why I'm surprised. I would actually be shocked to hear, like, I know some people that own cats in Ladysmith, I actually wanna ask them, like, do you license your cat? Because their cats never leave their home, you know, like we're dogs. I've had cats, I've only lived in Ladysmith again 2.5 years now, I never had heard that there was license.
right, and that's why I wonder why is this such a big dilemma, you know, that dogs I totally agree with, you know, because dogs are just a different animal. You know?
With the cats, if they don't have a license, to get a license, you have to have proof of vaccination. So my concern is how many cats are running around out there that aren't vaccinated.
Well, the issue we had with cats, and Don pretty much single-handedly took care of that, was the feral cats. A lot of the feral cats on 12th Street.
Right, but we've got a lot of
West
stray cats coming down west lately.
Yeah.
And that one cat, Felicia Frederick's cat, that's always up elementary, junior high, high school, whatever you wanna call it. Is that vaccinated?
That cat's been rehomed, and yes, he was vaccinated. He doesn't live in the city of Ladysmith anymore.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Because
that
of that.
cat's been gone. But yeah, I think our issue is, at least we used to be feral cats, but that's
Right.
really, Don's done a hell of a job with the feral cats in town, because we used to have a lot of them. but
Over 30.
That's besides the point, sorry about that.
Well, no, but I think, and from what Tony sent Dawn on this one email, he said, about doing this, I think it would be great, even we've spent a lot of money collected doing the clerical work, the integration of 2 databases would be challenging and have additional costs. Financially, I don't see any benefit. Following up on expired or unlicensed animals would cost even more and would present additional challenges. For example, there are probably 6 people on the 2023 list who have moved since they've adopted their cats. I think it's a lot of effort to attempt to manage something of which it would be difficult to measure success or failure. So, I think since this keeps being brought up and everything, I think perhaps we could entertain a motion that simply states, because this was, simply to state that, the city-county animal shelter will not sell city cat licenses. And maybe that'll put an end to all of this, I don't wanna say bickering, but bringing it up and we keep rehashing it over and over again. And if you didn't even know that cats had to be licensed, I mean, that's a city problem, that is not a county problem that Dawn should be wasting her time on and everything.
I'll make that motion in a heartbeat.
Question, Don, if the city would get you the list of the cats that are licensed and they come in, what is that, what word is? You get city cats come in that aren't licensed, would you contact the owners then or something? they need to get licensed?
If anybody is not licensed, I give them the information how to get them licensed.
Okay.
I've been given that since the first of the year.
Keep a record of that then too?
Yeah, I mean, I know a couple people that have gotten them licensed, but I can't, like, I don't have time to call everybody and run around.
Well, yeah, I
I mean,
understand
that takes a lot of time.
But you do let them know they have to get a
Yes,
license?
absolutely, everybody, and it's actually, I think it's actually added to, the health certificate, well, not a certificate, the health form, when the animals come in and they get vaccinated, I actually added that on there, that it states that dogs have to be licensed. If they get a dog from us, they get a license when they adopt them, unless it's underage. But the cats, I added that to the bottom of the health form, that it says cats have to be licensed in the city place. And then if they're in the city, they get the little sheet that tells them where and how much.
And they understand, but I understand that's not the mailing address, Lady Smith, it's just the city limits.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Right here.
Some people get confused with the Lady Smith mailing address and the Lady Smith.
Yeah, no,
limits.
it's city, yeah, no, they know that.
So, the motion has been made that the animal shelter will not license city cats. You put it this time.
No, I don't want it ever.
Oh, maybe just go to.
You can't make a motion that will never happen.
Right, cause I mean, the city council can bring it up and vote on something and.
But it has to come through our committee.
Right.
So, okay,
So for now.
so, well, I guess you can just say, so, do you wanna read the motion back?
Motion by Kudo to not have the Russ County Animal Shelter issue cat licenses in the city.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, and
I'll
is there a
second that.
Okay, well, second, okay, motion is made and seconded, any further discussion? So hopefully that'll put that to rest, so.
We got to vote on it.
Well, yeah,
Oh,
I'm
okay.
getting to it,
Oh.
come on, you gotta
He
have
talks.
discussion first. So, any further discussion? Okay, if not, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no, motion carried. Okay,
I need to excuse myself, I got to be at a meeting.
You're excused. Have a good
okay,
day.
thank you for coming,
Yep.
Thank- nice meeting you.
You too.
Okay, the next thing is the animal shelter report, we'll go to Dawn.
I do have a question before I do the operations, so, I was emailed, by Nancy regarding, giving her a list of all the citations that I write every month to her. I've been guessing it's to her individually, with their names, addresses, reason for citation, and what city township they're in. Now, that is my job as a humane officer. My citations are not, they're not written by the animal shelter. And I guess I don't see anything in the ordinances for the board, that saying that I need to do this, and I guess my issue is why? What is the purpose of me giving you personally, all my citations? Well, the board hasn't asked me, you asked me. And as far as I know, individual board members have no operational control unless directed, by the committee. So I guess I'm wondering why and what the purpose is, because you have sent numerous open records requests about my citations, and you have all of them. Every single one I've written, you have. I haven't written any new ones. So I'm just wondering what the purpose of that is. Like, why do you need those?
Keeping track of the locations people are getting, I still, some previous ones, you have people listen for Lady Smith. But that was the whole mailing Lady Smith, it wasn't the city of Lady Smith.
What does it matter who I write a citation to, where, when, why? What is that? I don't understand what that purpose is for you. Like, what information are you gaining out of knowing who I write citations to? And I'm not giving you that information unless the board, the entire board, tells me that they want that in my shelter operations report. But you have to remember, that is, shelter operations have nothing to do with me being a humane officer. So so I guess I'm kinda confused as to, what the purpose of that is. I don't know why you need that personally, so I would appreciate it, if the board would either say, yes, I need to do that, or no, I do not need to do that, because there is really no purpose for it, in
Chief
my
Julian,
opinion.
you guys, the city issues citations too, right?
For which?
For, well, I assume it would be for dogs.
Well, prior to Dawn coming, every year we got a list of all the dogs that were known to be unlicensed. There was probably other homes that had unlicensed dogs, but not known to, Karen Whitaker, she used to give us that list. I think she was in control of a lot of the animal licensing stuff.
Tracy is now.
Okay, so we always got the list from Karen at the time, and there was a list of, a page long, and we had officers, or my office manager would call, the city resident and say, you have 2 dogs, Rip and Joe, they haven't been licensed yet this year, please get them licensed. If they don't, then we used to issue the tickets. I had one officer assigned to it, they used to issue the tickets, but now since Dawn's been here, Dawn's been doing all that, correct?
When you say tickets, do you mean citations?
Citations, yes,
Okay.
citations.
Okay.
Postcards were just sent out Monday.
And those are for renewals though. Those are not for people that have never had one. Those are just for people that did not renew theirs.
Yeah, I mean, we work closely together with the animal shelter, the animal officer, what's your title?
Humane officer.
Thank you. We work closely with her, but if we have an animal bite and the dog's not registered through the city or licensed through the city, we'd probably write that, but we'd let her know, we'd send her the report, so she's aware of it. But otherwise, she's been taking care of all of them.
And the sheriff's office does basically the same thing?
I don't know what they do.
Okay.
Not sure how they handle theirs, but I just know how we used to handle it. We used to get a huge list. We actually even used to send officers down to the person's house to try to get them licensed. Because it is a big deal. These dogs need to be licensed because they're the ones running at large, they're the ones barking, they're the ones biting people, they're the, but now I think Dawn's taking care of that the last 2 years, I think.
Almost, yeah. Doing my best, it's not easy, I can't drive around in people's houses all day. There's not enough of me to do that.
So basically now Dawn issues all the dog citations or tickets?
We don't.
Unless I'm not.
We don't, that's all I can tell you.
Okay. And what about for the sheriff's department, it's the same thing that you're?
I don't think, they don't do anything with license, I don't think they care less about licensing, but, if they come into a situation, obviously I'm not around, or they're dealing with it, they will issue that citation.
Okay, and they let you know?
Usually, yes, I usually will get reports, or if something
Email.
goes down, email, usually it'll say refer to animal control or something like that if they want me to deal with it, and then I deal with it. So I think it depends on the situation,
So, going back to your question,
and I know it's not on the agenda, so you don't have to deal with it now, but it's just something.
yeah.
Well, Dawn has to answer your question, I don't hear your answer. Why do you want that? Why do you want that information?
I don't think you can ask that, why somebody wants it, like an open records request, I don't think you can ask them why they need it. It's just, it's a request, I don't think you can ask them that
Public
question.
knowledge.
That's
Personal information.
yeah.
You can ask it with an open records request to get it on label.
Yeah, well then, do the public knowledge, do both.
Fine, I will.
But I think this issue has come before, and like say, we can, again, we discussed it, but it's not on the agenda, so we can't take any action on that. So let's move on to the shelter operations.
Okay. Do you want one? Did you want one, Erin? Alright, so we do have, currently we have 48 animal yes, our cat population is not as much as it's been, however, when you look at this, you can see that we have, cat room has 4 kitties in it, 3 of those are 9 weeks old, 1 is a year, because we put Domino back in a regular cage and he had a meltdown about it, so he went on food strike, so I had to put him back in his big house. That's where he's happy, so he's taking care of the babies. And then the other room, we have the semi-feral mom with her kittens, because the cats in that room got adopted. And, we had another mom come in with, 4 4-week-old kittens. And the garage where they were is a very dangerous place for kittens in general, because it's not ventilated, and there's sick cats and they will die. So we had to move the one cat in the big room, and I moved the new mom and all her kids in the laundry room, because that's a little bit safer. So, yeah. And then, so in the cat quarantine is, 6 kitties, 7 kitties in there. That's the garage. And then in the adoption room, we've got, 8 kitties in there. Dog room, in the adoption kennel, there's 8. Quarantine, there's now 2, we got to move 1 up, we got 1 puppy adopted, so we moved 1 dog out of quarantine. So there's 2 dogs in quarantine now.
You're full with dogs.
Yeah. We did, like I said, we did get 1 adopted, we have people coming for a couple more, so hopefully that we'll get some of those out of there. We've got.
Which one got adopted?
Scoundrel, one of the puppies. Yeah, one of the lab puppies.
Sounds like a little devil. Nobody
So-
else has showed interest in the females?
Not yet, we have 1 person coming to look at 1 of them, and then I have someone coming to look at 2 other dogs, so hopefully we get them, move them out. And then we have 1 cat in foster, we have 2 dogs in foster, and then the laundry room, like I said, has, the semi-feral mom with 5 5-week-old kittens. And then the other mom, her kittens are probably 6 weeks-ish, she has 4 little kittens, and those are on the laundry room.
How many cats do you have?
We got 48 total, so minus the dogs, so minus that from 8, 9, 10, minus 10 dogs.
Okay,
Is that
thank
right?
you.
Yes.
38 cats.
Yes, approximately, yeah. And we, I think that's about, and then we do have, I do have some animals that are, we got a dog with a leg injury, that has to go in, who's going into that, or she's going into that Friday.
Did you get a dog from 705 versus South? Smaller dog? Should have those. Near the, college after railroad tracks?
Possibly, I don't remember the address.
It says a little yellow house in the woods.
Yes, I did.
They surrendered, or?
That dog was sexually arrested.
Oh, is that bad? Or-
It's just, it was a certain breed dog, and it was very stressed out, so I didn't wanna keep it at the shelter, because it wasn't having a good time, so. It's, herding dogs don't do well in shelters, so there's,
Cage.
yeah, they just don't do well, and,
The little thing was a herding dog?
yeah, it was actually, it was a weird, it was an unusual herding dog, and I can't remember the name of it,
That thing was tiny.
yeah,
When you say herding, do you mean?
like a
that the
healer
dog
or,
is like herding inside or something?
Oh,
or something?
oh no, herding, like it herds cattle.
Oh, herding,
Yes.
okay.
Not hurting, herding.
Oh, okay.
Yes, so if those dogs are,
Exactly,
they're
so
goofy,
mumble.
and,
Yes.
if they're not trained properly and they're stressed out, they can become very destructive and, agitated and things like that, so they don't do well locked up in kennels.
So you are kind of herding, actually.
Yes, like, yeah, emotionally, but so, there's a rescue that we've worked with before that they only specifically do certain herding breeds, so. But I figured that dog was better off there than, and we were really full, so it was just, the dog was really stressed out, so.
Okay, anything else?
Are many people coming to look at the cats right now?
Yeah, we actually had, was it last week or the week before, we had, I think it was not last Saturday, whatever Saturday we were open, was that the first? Yes, we had 3 or 4 cats adopted that day.
Wow.
And then that Tuesday after that, I had the last 2 cats in that one room adopted. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that was 6, 7 or 8 cats adopted within the last few weeks.
The 3 that got adopted on the Saturday, they weren't all the same family, or?
No, they each took pairs. We had, we had
Brother,
some,
sister.
yeah, we had some that were bonded pairs and they took, that had been there quite, cause they're shyer, but they took them on and they're all doing really good, so. But that kinda cleared out so I could move some up from the garage.
Kittens and,
Yeah, get them out of the garage.
Yeah, you don't have, a lot of them on there haven't been at the shelter for months now, as previously.
No, most of those guys got adopted within the last couple weeks, so we're actually doing pretty, I think there might be a couple. And sometimes some of the only reasons some of them sit here, a little bit longer, like Ace, the cat, he's been 12 weeks, but he had an eye issue and he was a crypt. And the vets, are full here, and, Purple Cat doesn't do, like there's something wrong with his eyes and you can't, like, the cat is like this.
Oh, it's all.
So it's hard to look. So, Fix the Pet did him, and he had entropy in both of his eyes, so they repaired that, and, so some of them, if they sit there a little bit longer, it's because they're waiting for a particular veterinarian that can do that all at once for me, instead of me having to take them, have them sedated, and then take them somewhere else and have them sedated. It just.
I see the longest one there is 11 months, that was an impound though, so let's see. Back on page 3. Kitty cat.
Oh, Kitty Cat's in foster care. Kitty Cat is blind, and has issues, so that is a permanent foster. He's not probably gonna be adopted, he's just.
Well, he's kind of up there in age
He's
too.
declawed, his owner died, and I don't know when he went blind, but he has some sort of brain issue, so he's a really cool cat, really nice cat. Doesn't cost us no money, he's just hanging out in foster care.
Okay, anything else for shelter report? Shelter operations?
Nope.
Okay, let's move on to.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Looking at shelter operation, okay, the first step, again, if you look in the upper right-hand corner, it says 13/23 or 12/31/2023. So this supposedly is the final, budget, or final financial for 2023. So when you look at it, again, there's nothing really new on here. Contracted services, we know about that 216, we've known about that all the time. And going down to 340, that was the air conditioner, that didn't help our budget. And then the animals, shelter supplies, and 347, 348 is, way over, but, this is nothing new. Again, auto and gas, again, from running around taking care of the animals. And then 930 down there, again, some of that's an allocation for the maintenance down there. And then on the second page, you can see that according to the budget, our total expenditures were supposed to be 151, we were 175. And so we're 23,000 over, and then you can look at, the numbers there. Maybe I keep going back a little bit.
That is fine.
The So we must have issued a kennel license,
I did.
so there's, that shows.
Well, I actually issued, the kennel license is only $100, but nobody went there in 2022, I guess. And I had no idea because nobody left me any information, so she paid
Oh, big
for
back
2
then.
years.
Oh,
Yes.
wow, that's.
So, cause she called me and I had no idea, I had to like dig through all kinds of stuff to try to figure out who this person was and what I was supposed to do, but I took care of it. Now everything is where it's supposed to be,
So
so.
we got the $200 of value, and the next line is shelter receipts, we're $4,000 over, that means we got 4,000 more than what we budgeted. They have the city amount here, of 15, that, I don't think that works out to the formula, if you drop way to the bottom of the page, 40% due from the city, that's according to formula, so I'll have to ask, Jamie about that, so I don't know if they're, we just figure out, but that's approximate how much the city's gonna owe, that's their 40%. Shelter donations, down there in the middle, that we never had before, that's when they donated money specifically for operations, so that's a good thing. Transfer from the gift fund, that 3,167, we've talked about this before, that was for the special stuff. And here, the one you heard me talking about a lot about dog taxes, so we got about $3,000 more this year in dog taxes than what we got in previous years. Because they had increased, remember, they increased the dog taxes. And
We're looking at doing that again for next year, or?
I think we should, because we're still
We're
low.
like the lowest in like, I wanna say Sawyer County charges, I mean, they don't even charge that much, but I think they charge over $20.
So how much ours?
13.50, and I think we should raise it to like 15 and get rid of the 50 cents
Yeah,
on all of
15
it.
and like 10 for,
Right.
that's a fair.
Yeah, 10.50, so I think we should,
Nice even
we
number.
should probably, right, so they don't, the county clerk, or I mean, the town clerks don't have to make change and all that stuff too.
True, yeah.
But I think that's something we probably should put on the agenda, because to get it passed, and so that when taxes come up, you know, which will be not that long again,
Cheery one.
increase dog license.
Cause I mean, even $10 is still good for, an animal that's being neutered, right now it's $7.50, so it's not that bad.
I think, does everybody, I mean, we'll discuss it later, cause it's not on the agenda now, but if we increase the dog licenses for next year, for 2025, if we go from, raise it 15 and 10, I mean, right now it's what, 7.50 and 13.50.
$7.50 and $13.50.
So we're
Once
raising-
50 cents came in, how?
Well, just to raise a little bit. What's the 13? For a dog license.
$13.50 for dog license if your dog is intact, meaning it's not
Oh,
spayed or
okay.
neutered. So it's $7.50 if it's fixed.
And so we'll raise both to 15 and 10.
I would say, yeah, 10,
That sounds
that's not.
Okay,
it's not
again, we
box.
can't take any action now, but. just
So
think
10
about-
for.
10 for fixed and 15 for not.
So if they lose something, we lose something, but if they keep it, then we do more.
So you can see here that we did get, because of the dog license, we got $3,000 more. Every little bit helps on that, so we got that. And then, so again, we ended up, $7,600 overspent, which will have to be adjusted and taken care of. Okay, again, this supposedly is the final. Then you look at the next one is the building fund. Again, we got $12,000 in for the building fund. Again, remember this year, we're going to be taking out the architect fees from that. So, and the 12/31/2022 fund balance was 3,800. So you add that on, so we got about 15,000 in the building fund. But remember, we paid out about 6,500 for that. You'll see in this. So I want them to confirm exactly what the fund balance is at the end of 2023. But you can see it here, if you take the 12 plus the 3 carry forward. And then the other one is spay neuter. Again, we had budgeted 3,000 for an expense, we had 22,000, so we're over by 19. But we had budgeted 2,000 in donations, we got 14. Got some more aluminum can money coming in.
Are the cans coming in slowed down a little bit.
Well, like every couple of months I make it full, I just got a check for $561 on our last cans, which was $200 more than I normally get, so, every few months, like, I think it's every 2 or 3 months it's full, and then they come get it. So,
So just looking at this for the year, we spent 22,000 and we got in, say, 16,000, so the difference was 6,000. But we had a balance forward of 36,000, so we would reduce that fund balance by 6,000, so there'd be about 30,000 left in the spay neuter. Looking at the gift fund, again, remember the second line there, gift fund expenses, second line, that was again for, I can't remember if that was for beds or for, that was a special thing that we approved, remember all expenditures had to come out of that. And there's that, here's this transfer out of the animal shelter, the 33167 that you saw in the other fund, we transferred the money from here to there, to pay for that. And we got in like almost $9,000, so over. So again, looking at this, we got in roughly $4,000 more than we spent in the gift fund, and we got 78,000, so it'd be roughly 82,000. It's just a rough thing. I wanna get the actual number they finally set it down. So this supposedly is the final for 2023. Any questions on that? I think we've been aware of most of this all the time. Okay, moving on to the next page. This should be the 4 months. Oh yeah, the data for 4/2, they have the wrong date on there. It should be. This is 2024, so this is the current year. So if you figure we're a third of the year through, so for example, if you took this year to date times 3, you look at the budget, well, you know, for next time help, that'd be 33,000, so we'd be under, this would come out to be about 48. So again, just looking at this, going down, again, just looking at this, taking a quick glance at it.
We get a lot donated, but there are times when I have to buy.
349 had 500, right?
Yeah, so it only is 100 now, I don't know why that is.
They probably, balance the budget and bring it down, I can check it, but I think that's probably.
I mean, like I said, I don't buy a lot, but there are times when I.
Right.
You know, and right now, the way things are costing, $100 isn't gonna get me far. Well, obviously, it's already over.
Right, for the year.
What kind of stuff, something, one thing, what cleaning thing costs $100 or what?
No, I'm just saying, like, some of them could
they
be.
budgeted.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
like,
that stuff, a lot of that cleaning, basically just.
There's floor, I mean, you have a special floor cleaners that you use, and when we had Parvo, I had to buy, you know, and that thing per gallon is like $40, so you have to have stuff that kills diseases.
Right.
Well, if you look at 356 auto gas, we're a third of the way through and we're spent half the budget already.
Yeah.
But that's, again, you know, running and doing all this because the vets here can't take care of stuff.
We took a bunch, we try to take as many as possible, but that field was not that big.
Yeah.
We had 6.
U-Haul type thing,
We
almost.
took 6 puppies, 1 adult dog, and I wanna say 2 cats all shoved in. The dog is almost 80 pounds. And the
In
puppies
that
are-
little vehicle? Like,
They had to go, they had to be done.
oh my god, that'd be cozy.
The cats were in the front seat, the dogs all slept, a couple of them puked.
Oh lord.
They fit, I mean, they fit comfortably, but you gotta fit as many, there's no sense driving that far
And not having more.
and not having as many as you possibly can.
Just picturing cages up to the ceiling and as far as it goes, jeez. I mean,
They were in there.
Okay, one thing to look at, if you look at number 920, they transferred to the gift fund $880. So you must have spent something, but I don't remember that.
That's the beds. wanna say the 880s, but that's.
800 sounds,
Did
yeah,
I
it
get
does.
that this year though? Did I get those bids this year? I did.
We approved that earlier this year?
We did.
I believe, I think that's the
That was
best.
quite early.
I'm not 100% sure.
It says 818 maybe, but 880 sounds more right.
Cause isn't that the one where I got permission to charge it to the gift fund before I actually ordered, like when I had the bill?
Yeah,
Sometimes I do it after, so if I can do it.
Right,
So that's what that
and
is
usually it's
probably.
best to try and get it ahead of time, because then it can charge directly to the gift fund, this way it got charged to operations.
It was January, looking back in the,
But this is, if this is the number I was given
for purchase the dog.
to use, to pay that. So if it's in the wrong, is it in the wrong
Well,
spot?
no, because then it came out of the gift fund, so.
Okay, so as long as it came where it was supposed to.
Well, this is an expense, so yeah, we'll have to look at it. Okay, so so again, this is the third of the year. And then look at income, well, again, we don't have the little numbers here, but, so in animal shelter receipts, we got about 4,500 in, so out of 10. So, you know, that, the city share, well, that's that. Here's gift shelter donations, so we got $1,000 in, that was for, you know, to help out with, food operations. Dog, they still have the old budget in there for that, budgeted and everything, so. Here, so again, this is just, the first 4 months. Okay, if we look at, which you won't like, but you look at the next one is the building, that building expense, I think that's $6,499.91. That is the architect's fees, the Cancrum addition, you remember there was like something and they were going to donate in kind, and this is not, so that they've been paid, and I think they're basically done. And then we got, building funds of 4,600. And again, I did put beginning balance on here because I wanted to try out the ending balance from last year first. Looking over here for a Heather expense or spay neuter, so far this year, we've spent almost 5,000 out of, well, our budget was 12. Donations are, well, quite way down, 2,700. So again, right now, we would have spent, well, say 2,000 more than, but that would come out of the budget, I mean, you know, the fund balance.
And Mary's having that plant sale this weekend.
Oh.
For the spay neuter.
Okay, so that'll, and then the gift fund, nothing in here, they've gotten, for the gift fund, they got $1,300 in so far. See, they have this gift fund, the budgets, they show transfers to, capital projects. Well, they were transferring, remember we had talked about transferring 50,000 out of the gift fund for the capital addition, so they put it in the budget that way. Yeah, that's that way, but again, nothing is that way. So any questions on that? So again,
The 50,000 came from the gift fund.
well, it's not taken out, it's in the budget to be moved, and it would go into a capital project fund.
Did we vote on that or not? Or was it just discussed?
I don't think he voted on it. I think it was.
Just discussed,
Figure out the
and I
amount.
think they put it in to, anytime you do a capital project, they have a separate account for capital projects for the whole county or for all the expenditures, so that's why they have to move it. So it would get transferred from here to there, but that hasn't been done yet. And again, well, we don't know where we're going with that. So, that's budget review. Any questions on any of that by anybody? Okay, next thing on the agenda is review bills. Okay, and you have the bills here that, yeah, that's, the one thing to tell you about on here that you've never seen before, is, the treasurer payment. Because for the county, well, town clerks that sell the licenses and everything, somehow or other they keep track of that, and they get a certain amount, something, I don't know what that is. So, well, you can see one of them really did a lot, $1.
That's what I was noticing, we had that $2.50.
And so that's what all these treasure payments are. We're doing that. Tom Hanson.
So do they, what do you know? Oh, that's Tori.
Oh, Tori Hanson, sorry. Yeah, just last time thing, you don't sell that. But it's out.
So Terry, the different townships, villages, whatever, sell their permits, their licenses, and they keep some, and this is the amount?
No, they turn it all in, and then the county pays it back, depending on how much they sell.
Okay.
So, no, they don't keep any, they're not supposed to.
That's all.
Yeah, you can see, and I think most of the clerks do sell the dog license. Maybe some of them don't, maybe they tell them to come here, but I think most of them sell it. Yeah.
Until they run out of.
Well, until the 31st, right?
Or until they're up to tax, maybe?
Yeah, January 31st, along with, property tax collections and then everything. And then there, I mean, well, now it's, Road is selling dog licenses here every day. I mean, there's one or two coming in to buy their dog licenses here, so it's a year-round thing. But this is the big push because a lot of them pay with their taxes, and that's what all these things are. So look at this and see if there's anything, for the bills. Any questions on that? Like I say, a lot of these are the,
Most of them.
are the treasurer's thing.
I'm trying,
That's, yeah.
I don't know, that's maintenance. I'm gonna guess, yeah, I think,
Grass size.
possibly, and, it might be, they did plant some grass. They kinda cleaned up our driveway a little bit, and then they planted some grass there, but I don't really know what if that's a
Like
bug
break down the
killer.
gravel, or did they flip the sod and they were plowing it?
I think a lot of it got pushed and pulled up when they did the snow removal,
Okay.
because we didn't get a ton of snow, but yeah, there was a lot of mess out there, but they cleaned most of that up, or I should say all of that up's been clean, and they planted some grass, and they've already mowed our back, cause we got wood ticks out there already. I'm pulling them off me, I'm pulling them off dogs. Yeah.
Okay, any question on the bills? Anybody? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the bills.
I'll make a motion.
Motion's been made to pay the bills, seconded by Tom. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carried. Okay, well, doing this.
Oh, sorry.
Next thing on here is fracas. Any report?
Okay, well, I have a couple things, but they're not really like a report, they're more of a request, and I was wondering, Don, when you passed out those budget things, could I get a copy, cause I give it to the other people and.
You want this whole thing here?
Oh. Just that one that you guys were just going over.
24th, or the 23rd.
No, not the whole, yeah, or maybe I was in the back.
They were both of them.
This was going on.
You want this
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
thing?
Oh, you don't have to give me your copy.
I have another.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's good.
Well,
Yeah,
it's
good
an
enough.
extra.
Here.
Oh, this is,
Next
this is good enough.
You got it.
Okay, this is good enough. Okay, then the second thing is, for you, Connie, when Jill was here, she always sent me a packet of the minutes and the agenda. And so this morning, when I went to my computer and I pressed print, and it was, last month's. So I don't know if I got one this month, and it maybe came from a different person, and so I didn't know.
Received.
Okay, so I probably just, I don't know her and just
That's what I did too.
deleted it, so we just check and make sure I'm on that list.
Absolutely.
Okay, so those are the two easy things, and then the last thing is, and Mary, I feel so bad, I guess when I went out there, I was hoping she was still out there, and I would definitely talk to her or anybody else, is that, we're still trying to figure out how to raise money for that building. And when people say you don't need it because the numbers are going down, it's kinda like politicians when they say, oh, this month inflation went down, oh, we're good. And then next month inflation goes up, and then the other guys say, oh, you're rotten, you know, and in fact, it's, you know, so to say the numbers are down, yes, but that's not to say numbers are gonna stay down. And if we go back to, the original point of the addition was not to take more cats, it was to get cats out of really an inhumane garage situation.
It's a health and welfare issue.
And, out of the laundry room. And so if people keep saying, well, your number's going down, you don't need it, well, that's not addressing the main issue of why we started this. And so, Mary and I get along just fine, I would gladly tell her that, because if other people are saying that, oh, we don't need it, that's really gonna hurt our cause. So please try and remind people that that's not the issue is the health and safety of the cats that we have, and the garage and the laundry room are not places that cats should be.
Well, and like Dawn said in her report, there's no room for quarantine, for, you know, babies, you know, all
Right.
that other
So
stuff.
it's not
we
just an
need
easy
more.
numbers thing, oh, numbers are going down, you're fine, and a lot of people will jump on that.
Aren't there more, excuse me, Paul, are there
Yeah.
more cats coming in sick, by any chance?
I wouldn't, it's just a steady, the problem is it's not that they come in sick sometimes, I mean, we've had plenty come in sick. Sometimes, if you have cats from a certain area and you put them in there, just the stress of them being there, they end up with an upper respiratory infection, or they don't eat, or they get diarrhea from food change, or if there's a cat in there that is a carrier of something, they don't have to be sick to be a carrier of a disease.
Right.
Those new cats or new kittens can get that disease, they're airborne, it doesn't matter, I mean, you can wash your hands as much as you want, if you're still risking. So it's a stress-induced, most of them are stress-induced illnesses, because if it's airborne, that cat colony or wherever those cats came from have never been introduced to that strain, whatever that illness is, and they can get sick. It's cats, it's just a cesspool, and they get sick very easily because they get stressed being locked in kennels. And especially if you have pregnant cats, nursing cats, they are the first ones, and those kittens could be dead in 24 hours from one simple little upper respiratory infection or whatever is going on.
So I was wondering, cause I've noticed a lot of people being more sick this year, this spring. And something I heard this morning about the pollen, the mold and stuff, I wonder if it was affecting cats and dogs the same way.
I mean, it might, but we haven't got too many terribly, we got a few, that were.
Canadian swamp too.
Huh?
New Canadian swamp coming.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's not burning.
Okay, so then the last thing I had is, when Michael Mileski and I trade every other month, so when I was here 2 months ago, the architect guy was here, and he was saying that he was gonna come up here in April and, help us figure out fundraising ideas. And, okay, so when Michael gave her report, I said, well, did the guy come? And no, he didn't come yet. And so this morning I asked Dawn, did he come yet? Nobody sent an email, so I guess when you get a chance, will you make me a copy
I don't
of
know
that?
what was, I never got a chance to look through the email, but didn't he get an email? Didn't we get an email from him? Just like a couple weeks ago?
Not that I'm aware of, I can go back and check again, but I don't remember
Swore I saw I'll have to go, I could've swore I saw an email from them.
Okay, because so
I will look.
we really are
Yeah.
kind of waiting on him, because he knows a lot of resources that we are not familiar with. And, because I don't wanna give up.
I'm assuming he, rather than him coming all the way up from Madison, I'm assuming it'd be Zoom.
Online, yeah.
Well, then that would be fine. I mean, however he wants to do it, but we kind of we don't wanna let this thing fade off into the distance. We wanna keep it going.
Okay.
Okay. So,
I will look, I'm sorry.
Okay, that's.
I don't know, the email could have been something completely not related,
Right,
Maybe.
but I know that I saw it.
okay, thank you.
And Dawn, well, this is kind of a related request. You said that there was some,
Here, write your email down here, cause I'm trying to find it, so I don't.
there are some, one corporation or a couple of corporations that have big grants. You said that would
Yeah,
be,
that lady's was on maternity leave, and I will get
okay,
in
'cause
contact
I
with
know
her.
you haven't had time, but, you know, if there's something that we can help you with that.
There is, and there was some other one as well that I'm gonna look into.
To get a
It's hard for
huge
me to do
grant.
it because I have to go on a Zoom meeting with this lady.
Oh.
And when I'm there, but I get interrupted a lot, so it's hard for me to make contact.
Yeah.
But I will.
That's the one that's on maternity leave or the other?
Yeah, she's on maternity leave, so.
You know, from some foundations, some, because we did have to know out of them.
That'd be
It
nice.
could look a lot, right?
Oh, there's nothing. How much do we have so far? Donations.
Well, just when.
Whatever's in the new building fund and whatever.
Yeah.
That's actually cash.
Yeah. Okay,
I have a question. Now that we can only talk for 3 minutes and you only want us to talk on what's on the agenda, who do we contact? You or Connie if we want to get put on the agenda to talk about something?
you're to contact, well, me, cause I've gotta come up with the agenda. But,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear
I
that.
would email both of us so that we know, you know, if he's missing it, I got it, if I miss it, he's got it.
Okay,
cause we're like.
cause I had more to say, so.
I can't believe that.
Okay, anything else from anybody? Okay, our next meeting will be June 20th, at 8:30. And that's the first day of summer, so you should all be happy. It'll be the longest day of the year, and then things start going downhill fast.
So just because it's a meeting or?
So,
June 20th? I was thinking.
June 20th.
Okay.
I won't be able to make it there.
You're gonna be on.
I'm gonna be at Canada Fish and Wildlife.
I'm on
Well,
vacation.
take care of the smoke when you're up there.
Okay.
Maybe stop in the smoke,
Take
so.
care of the smoke.
I'll put the fires out.
Oh, I'm gonna add, I did pass out 50 Spangler vouchers so far this year.
Oh.
Okay, and I went to a cows meeting and everything, and
Cows?
yeah, county official
Oh.
workshop. And you don't need a motion to adjourn, the chair can just adjourn and say, so I will adjourn the meeting at 10:11.
What does that cows stand for again?
County official workshops.
Okay.
And there's also a herd, but I don't know what the
You're
herd
serious?
stands for.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
Is that to make lunch? Is that to make life funny?
No, there was a cows workshop.
Well, I thought you went to an actual four-legged animal workshop. What the
No,
heck were you
it
doing?
was, thing. Okay, well, thank you all for coming, appreciate it, and we are now adjourned. Like I said.
Thanks.
I am gonna say, though, that I thought your website was very good, informative.
You made it,
For our
in time to adjourn.
Your name, Ash?
I would like the board and you guys to come up with a comprehensive mission statement and a statement of values